everyone. I want to make another video, fourth I think, part 4 in Isaiah, talking about the second Exodus and the Battle of Gog of Magog. So far we have a lot of chapters we went through, mentioning that I believe mentions the second Exodus and that can point to it. I believe with Yahweh's prophecies, they can have more than one application in different times. Ecclesiastes 1 verse 9 says that what was will be again, and there is nothing new under the sun. So things can play out again, similar to what happened before. But I believe in prophecy they have, like, could say double period meaning, for the same meaning for the two periods of time. Just want to mention here, and I'll probably mention it in every video, that I'm Afrikaans, so I'm not English. So yeah, bear with me. English is my second language. You'll probably notice it. That's what I wanted to say is Yahweh can use, I believe, the same prophecies for two periods of time. And what I'm looking at really in Isaiah to find the second Exodus prophecies is key phrases like gathering Israel again, basically that, yeah, of them returning back to the original Israel, the desolate Israel, the desolate Jerusalem, them rebuilding those places again, regathering out of the nations to build and inhabit those places again. All these ideas in Isaiah, I refer to them as the second Exodus. And yes, I believe, like Isaiah pointed out so many times for us, that at the moment Israel, cities of Israel and Jerusalem are desolate. There's no inhabitants there. And according to Isaiah, those places will only be inhabited again after the second Exodus. The second Exodus hasn't happened yet. So it's a future event. So at the moment, the place that's occupied in Palestine is not Israel. Jerusalem in Palestine is not Jerusalem. It's all fake. We are living in the season of deception, the short season of deception that Revelation 20 talks about. And Satan lied about everything, not just the shape of the earth, or about the millennial kingdom, or about where we come from, like evolution and medicine, everything. He lied, literally lied about everything. Our history books, he lied in the history books. So we inherited lies. But we can find the truth as Yahuwah's Spirit leads us. And this is another lie that we need to unravel and find the truth. The lie that where the real Israel is, the real Israel territory, who the real Israelites are, because it's not Jews, and where the real Jerusalem is, where the real Mount Zion is. All these things, Satan lied about it. It's all about deception. Satan wants you to believe the lies, because it is like chains that you can't see. It keeps you bound and you can't receive more truths. It keeps you stuck. That's what I found. When you're open to truths and humble enough to receive new truths, then you can receive more truths after that. As soon as you settle down in what you know and say, no, I'm not going to receive anything more, I know enough, then you can't receive anything more. And what also happens, what I noticed, is if you cling to a lie, even though you know it's not probably accurate, then you will start receiving more lies. and you will think it's truths. For instance, when I look at full preterism, they have a lot of truths, but when they come to a certain point in their teachings, they get stuck. And then they start to make up a whole lot of stuff that's not biblical, not in line with scripture. They start to misquote scriptures just to push their belief system. Up to that point, they were very accurate. They read the Bible as is. They explain it in line with other scriptures up to a point. And I've noticed that those who do that, their views concerning other Bible stuff, subjects, is also inaccurate. They start to cling to other lies, and it's like a spirit of deception that they allow in their lives to, what you can say, to confuse them. So yes, when you're willing to be open for the truth and you receive more truth, even if it's stuff that you've never heard before, or it's difficult for you to stomach, to believe, look into it and study it, see if it's true, and if it's true, go with it, run with it, because then you are open for more truth. And Yahuwah only reveals to his humble. To those that are humble and willing to learn, they receive more truth. If you think you know enough, then you're full of pride and you won't receive anything more. Alright, let's start, because there's quite a few chapters left in Isaiah. I think it's 9 chapters from chapter 52 that talks about second Exodus, so there's quite a few left. I might have to make a part 5. When I started this, I didn't think that there would be so much information concerning the second Exodus in the prophet Isaiah, and I thought, yes, I'll find a few mentions of it maybe in all the prophets together. And now here I'm at doing part 4 of just one prophet talking about the subject, well, as I interpret it. Isaiah 52, awake, awake Zion, put on your strength, O Zion, and you put on your glory, Jerusalem, the holy city. There shall no more pass through you the uncircumcised and unclean. We see in previous chapters he mentions also that only the righteous will go into these areas that Yahuwah prepares for the Israelites of the second Exodus. And as I mentioned in another video, that circumcision is part of the times we are living in, just as Joshua had to circumcise the Israelites before they entered Canaan back in the first Exodus. Now with the second Exodus the same will happen. Men will again need to be physically circumcised if they're gonna enter into the territory of Yahuwah, into the original Israel territory, which is in Africa. Just before you may think I'm talking about Palestine, when I'm talking about the Israel or the real Israel, I'm always talking about the territory in the middle to bottom part of Africa. So before they can enter there, they need to be circumcised. That's why it says here, in Jerusalem's area, the uncircumcised won't be allowed there anymore, and the unclean. Shake off the dust and arise and sit down, Jerusalem. Put off the band of your neck, captive daughter of Zion. At the moment, the true Israelites are held captive in this money system. They are in the governments. The word government means to control the people. So that we are basically slaves, but not in cages. We have to do certain things, otherwise we get in trouble with the government, our controllers. So when this remnant returns to Israel, this would change, it seems, that the band will be removed from their necks. For thus say Yahuwah, you have been sold for naught, and you shall not be ransomed with silver. They will go out without needing to be paid for. They will flee their countries with war, that's in war, and they will flee hopefully to the right place. I believe Yahweh will let all of them know this truth, that they need to flee to South Africa in the future. But the real territory of Israel isn't South Africa, that's just a place for the second Exodus where they will gather. And just like Israel, they gathered, and together they moved into the real Israel territory afterwards. From Pisgah, they went over the Jordan when they went up to Jericho to conquer it. So the same, they will gather in South Africa there. Yahweh will prepare them to go into his territory again, which is just above South Africa. Where were we? Okay. Thus say Yahuwah, my people went down before to Egypt to the sojourn there, and were carried away forcibly to the Assyrians. Here he mentions that Israel before also were captives in other countries, in Egypt, Assyria, just like they are captive today in the different nations they are in. And now why are you here? Thus say Yahweh, because my people was taken for nothing. Wander you and howl. Thus say Yahweh, on account of you my name is continually blasphemed among the Gentiles. The thing is, because Israel, the remnant, they reject Yahweh's commands, the people can't see Yahuwah in them. Just like Yahushua set the example for us, and people could see the Spirit of Yahuwah in him, the fruits of the Spirit in him. Today, people blaspheme Yahuwah because they can't see the Spirit or the fruits of Yahuwah in us. We must keep the commandments to show the people the way of how to live, and part of that is bearing the fruits of the Spirit. Because it's Yahuwah's Spirit that can write these commandments on our hearts. Therefore shall my people know my name in that day, for I am he that speaks, I am present. The third commandment in Exodus 20 says that we must not take Yahuwah's name in vain, we must not change his name to make it powerless or of no effect. And if we do that, we will be punished. There will be punishment for people who does that, who changes his name and make it of no effect. Especially if you know the truth. If you've learned that Yahweh's name is Yahuwah, and you reject it, or you don't look into it to start using it, then you will be held accountable. But if you never heard about it, you can't be held accountable for that. And it says here that in those days, the true Israelites, the remnant that will be taken to South Africa and later on into the original territory of Israel, they will call Yahweh on his name. All of them, everyone will call Yahweh on his name. They will not make any excuses anymore. They will not mock Yahweh's name. It is scary if I think about this, that you get people today that are so foolish. They mock Yahweh's name, they don't like hearing his name, and they speak out against people who uses his name. That's so sad, and they are just heaping up issues and troubles for themselves in the future, when Yahweh's punishment is going to come on them for what they said about him and his name. I think that's foolish. Rather first look into it and search out if it's the truth before you start mocking. These people don't even look into it. They just start mocking like fools. As a season of beauty upon the mountains, as the feet of one preaching glad tidings of peace, as one preaching good news, for for I will publish your salvation, saying, O Zion, your Elohim shall reign. The world will publish, Yahweh will publish our salvation of the remnant of Israel. The world will know that Yahuwah gathered his people. They will know and they will see it. They will see Yahuwah's protection over them. They will see that Yahuwah saved them, that Yahuwah is on their side. For the voice of them that guard you is exalted, and with the voice together they shall rejoice. For eyes shall look to eyes, when Yahuwah shall have mercy upon Zion. I think this can also mean that people will be humble and they won't exalt one above another, one nation above another. As we read in another prophecy of Isaiah, that Ephraim and Judah will get along. They won't stab each other in the back anymore. One won't think he's better than the other. They will look eye to eye. Let the west places of Jerusalem break forth into joy together, because Yahuwah has had mercy upon her and has delivered Jerusalem. And Yahuwah delivered Jerusalem. This is when Yahuwah gives back that territory to Israel that will move up from South Africa upwards, as also prophesied by Nicolaas van Rensburg, the Boer prophet of the 1900s. He said that white Christians will take up to the equator of Africa in the future. And Yahuwah shall reveal his holy arm in the sight of all the nations, and all the ends of the earth shall see the salvation that comes from Yahuwah. Revealing his holy arm, remember that Yahuwah's right hand is Yahushua Messiah. It is even in the name of Yahuwah. In Hebrew, the letters means arm behold, nail behold, the arm referring to Yahushua, and the name Yahuwah actually shows what Yahushua came to do for us. It is hand behold, nail behold. That's right. That Yahushua will be nailed to a pole. It is even prophesied in the original name of the Father, Yahuwah, that he will sacrifice for us, Yahushua, for our lawlessness. It's amazing. But what I'm saying here is the right arm of Yahuwah refers to Yahushua Messiah. And his set apart arm in the sight of all the nations. He reveals his set apart arm. It's also mentioned that there will be, like with the first Exodus, again there will be two clouds, the one with fire and one with for the heat and one for the cold, and it will also be as a protection over the real Israel. Just like it was in the desert, Yahweh protected them as they moved through the desert areas. The sun didn't scorch them, and at night they weren't freezing to death. Depart, go out from here, and touch not the unclean thing. I believe this depart from here is talking about the other nations departing from the other places with the second Exodus. Go you out from the midst of her, separate yourselves, you that bear the vessels of Yahuwah. Now this can have a much deeper meaning, of course. You who bear the vessels of Yahuwah. And the vessels here refers to who they are as Israelites, who they descended from. They descended from Adam. And I believe that scripture shows us that Yahweh doesn't like when we mix things, and for the same reason he doesn't like it when different races mix, it seems. That's what I read in scripture. And you can have your own opinion on that if you want. I saw here in Nehemiah, for instance, when the law was read to the people, The whole law was read to them. And then in Nehemiah 9:2, then those of Israelite lineage, separated themselves from all the foreigners, and they stood and confessed their sins and the iniquities of their fathers. So we see here that the people who were Israelites, who have descended from Abraham, they separated themselves from the other ethnic groups. Nehemiah 10:30, we would not give our daughters as wives to the peoples of the land, to foreigners, nor take their daughters for our sons. Here again we see that these people, when they heard the law, they decided these things. Another thing was that they will not intermarry with people from other ethnicities. Nehemiah 13:27, should we then hear of your doing all this great evil, transgressing against our Elohim by marrying foreign, non-Israelite, pagan women. The word pagan, if you look it up, it means a foreigner of a non-Israelite woman. Okay, I'm just going to leave that subject there. I'm not going to go in depth with that. I'm just going to continue with Isaiah on the second Exodus. For you shall not go forth with tumult, neither go by flight. For Yahweh shall go first in advance of you, and Elohim of Israel shall be he that brings up your rear. Yahweh will protect them, this is what it means. See, my servant shall understand, and he shall be exalted and glorified exceedingly. A servant is someone that listens to Yahuwah, and that's why he will be exalted and glorified, because when he listens, he will know where to go and when to go. That's why you need to be in prayer, you need to obey Yahuwah's commands, so that you can hear what to do, and so that you can have Yahuwah's protection over your life and your family's life. Okay, let's see Isaiah 54. Rejoice, you barren that bear not. Break forth and cry, you that do not travail, for more are the children of the desolate than of her that has a husband. For Yahuwah said, enlarge the place of thy tent. Enlarge the place of your tent and of your curtains. Fix the pins, spare not, lengthen the cord, and strengthen the pins. What Yahuwah is saying here, he's saying the desolate, and he's referring to the areas of Israel that at the moment is desolate, and there will be a sudden influx of children, of Israelite children, that will come into the desolate areas. For the barren land, the desolate land will suddenly have an influx of millions of Israelite remnant coming into that area, those areas again. And that's why it says, enlarge the place of your tents, enlarge the areas of, they will gather in South Africa. We read in another prophecy of Isaiah that the people will say, we want to settle, we need a bigger area. And also I believe this refers to this, that they will enlarge the area. From South Africa they will move up into Africa, up to the equator. Spread forth your tent, yet to the right and to the left, for your seed shall inherit the Gentiles, and you shall make the desolate cities to be inhabited. Yahuwah knows where the correct Israel is. He knows. And that's why he's gathering Israel in South Africa, because he knows the territory is just above South Africa. And that's why he says here, you will inherit the Gentiles just above the place where I gather you. That's how I see this. And you shall make the desolate cities to be inhabited. Just above South Africa, there's the desolate cities. Fear not, because I just want to say here again, it connects with the previous verse, verse 2, where Yahweh says, enlarge your tent. So let's say they gather in South Africa, and Yahweh says, yes, go and enlarge your tent, meaning spread out your pins and the tent, make it bigger from where you are. If they gather in South Africa, which direction can they expand into? Up, north. That's the only place they can go. They expand up to the equator. Fear not, because you have been put to shame, neither be confounded. Neither be confounded, because you were reproached, for you shall forget your former shame, and shall no more at all remember the reproach of your widowhood. Yes, I believe this also talks about people will forget the shame, Israel's shame, of being dispersed across the world, having to leave their country, because when Yahweh divorced Israel, they had to leave his territory. That's what happened. It's for Israel, and that happened for Judah too. Judah also had to leave the territory after Yahweh divorced them. And that shame of the divorce, that shame of the desolation of those areas, those beautiful places that Yahweh gave Israel, that will be forgotten, because the people will inhabit those places again. For it is Yahweh that made you, Yahweh of hosts is his name, and he that delivered you, he is Elohim of Israel, and shall be called so by the whole earth. Yes, the whole earth will see the glory and the power of Yahuwah and his hand in the lives of the Israel remnant, and the whole earth will notice and fear Yahweh and fear his people. Yahweh has not called you as a deserted and faint-hearted woman, nor as a woman hated from her youth, say Yahuwah. So Yahuwah has not called you as a deserted and faint-hearted woman, nor as a woman hated from her youth. Yes, Yahuwah doesn't desert his people, those who keep his commands and walk in his ways. He remembers them. It even says in his word, I think it's in Joel, or might be in Malachi actually, that those who call Yahweh on his name and meditate on his name, a book of remembrance will be written of them that meditated on Yahuwah's name. So Yahuwah remembers those that remembers him, that obeys him. For a little while I left you, but with great mercy will I have compassion upon you. Now for Yahweh a little while, 1,000 years is a little while for him. So he says here, for a little while I left you. If you think when Jerusalem and Judah and Israel were deserted by Yahuwah or divorced by Yahuwah, it's a long time ago, but for Yahuwah it's a little while. And it's time for him that he's going to regather his Israel, his people. But with great mercy will I have compassion upon you. In a little wrath I turned away my face from you, but with everlasting mercy will I have compassion upon you, say Yahuwah that delivers you. He says his wrath was a little while, but his mercy is everlasting. That's amazing, comparing the two. He's more merciful than he is wrathful. And being everlasting also refers to the future, because Yahweh hasn't been merciful yet on the remnant of Israel by gathering them. So this is still going to happen. So that's why I believe this is talking about the future event. From the time of the water of Noah, this is my purpose, as I swear to him at that time. saying of the earth, I will no more be wroth with you, neither when you are threatened shall the mountains depart, nor shall the hills be removed, so neither shall my mercy fail you, nor shall the covenant of my peace be at all removed. For remember, the covenant Yahweh made with Abraham is an everlasting covenant. For Yahweh, who is gracious to you, has spoken it. Afflicted and outcast, you have not been comforted. Behold, I will prepare carbuncle for thy stones, as precious stones, and sapphire for your foundations. Wow, when I hear this about foundations, it reminds me of Revelation talking about the 12 foundation stones of the New Jerusalem, 12 layers of crystals, different crystals like jasper, and here it says sapphire, and yes, it reminds me of that. And I think this also maybe then can be used to as proof that the New Jerusalem will be placed in the bottom part of Africa or around the equator. In the previous video I showed how big that would be, 2,200 kilometers in length and width and height. That's very big, and it fits on Africa, but it's almost from west to east sea wide. And it mentions here the foundations of sapphire where they will gather, so maybe it's then in Africa. And I will make your buttresses jasper, and thy gates crystal, and the border precious stones, and I will cause all your sons to be taught of Elohim, and your children to be a great peace. And you shall be bold in righteousness, abstain from injustice, and you shall not fear, and trembling shall not come near you. Why? Because Yahweh will destroy the nations that surrounds them at the battle of Gog of Magog. He will step in himself. Behold, strangers shall come to you by me, and shall sojourn with you, and shall run to you for refuge. And this is another proof for me that this is talking about the second Exodus. These strangers are Israelites that will flee to South Africa in the future to take refuge there, flee away from the wars in their countries. Behold, I have created you, not as the coppersmith blowing coals and bringing out a vessel fit for work, but I have created you, not for ruin, that I should destroy you. Will not suffer any weapon formed. I will not suffer any weapon formed against you to prosper, and every voice that shall rise up against you for judgment. Yahweh says here, He won't allow that when Gog comes to surround Israel, He won't allow their weapons to destroy Israel. He won't allow it to prosper against His people. You shall vanquish them all, and your adversaries shall be condemned thereby. There is an inheritance to them that serve Yahuwah. Again, who receive the inheritance? Those who obeys Yahuwah's commands. And you shall be righteous before me. What's the definition of righteousness? To keep the commandments of Yahuwah. It's Deuteronomy 6 verse 25, Luke 51 verse 7, 1 verse 7, Luke 1 verse 7, and Isaiah 51 verse 7. It gives us definitions of righteousness. It's to keep the commandments of Yahuwah. Says Yahuwah. So let's read that again. There is an inheritance to them that serve Yahuwah, and ye shall be righteous before me, saith Yahuwah. So that's this chapter 54. So we see quite a few references there to second Exodus and Yahuwah's protection over His people. The nations will have to admit that Yahuwah exists, that He is alive, because they will see His hand of protection over His remnant, and that other nations won't be able to touch them during that period of preparation for the battle of Gog of Magog. Isaiah 55. You that thirst, go to the water, and all that have no money, go and buy, and eat and drink wine and fat without money or price. Wherefore do you value at the price of money, and give your labor for that which will not satisfy? Hearken to me, and you shall eat that which is good, and your soul shall feast itself on good things. Give heed with your ears, and follow my ways. Hearken to me, and your soul shall live in prosperity. And I will make with you an everlasting covenant, the sure mercies of David. Amazing, isn't it? Your soul will live in prosperity when you obey Jehovah's commandments. This is the whole message of the Bible. You obey Jehovah's commandments. That is what the Bible is about. It talks about those who didn't obey it and what happened to them, and it talks about those who did obey it and how they were blessed and how Yahweh was there for them. That's what the Bible is about. Even up to the very last chapter, it says there that only those who obey Him will enter His Jerusalem. And that if you remove anything from the words of the prophecy of this book, Yahweh will remove your name from the book of life. Referring to His commands, if you remove His commands out of your life, He will remove your name from the book of life. That's in Revelation 22 verse, I think 19 and 20. Where were we? Behold, I have made him a testimony among the Gentiles, a prince and a commander to the Gentiles. Nations which know you not shall call upon you, and peoples which are not acquainted with you shall flee to you for refuge. He talks specifically about the South Africans, I believe, because that is where the people is going to flee to. Nations will know you not. The people don't know those South Africans. And the shall call upon you, and peoples which are not acquainted with you shall flee to you to refuge for the sake of Yahweh your Elohim, the Holy One of Israel, for He has glorified you. I still believe that this could refer to those Israelites in South Africa preparing the place for the others to come, that people will know them not, but they will call for help. They would want to go there for protection and refuge, where Yahweh will protect them. Seek you Yahuwah, and when you find Him, call upon Him, and when He shall draw nigh to you. Let the ungodly leave his ways, and the transgressor his counsels, and let him return to Yahweh, and he shall find mercy, for he shall abundantly pardon your lawlessness. See, Yahweh wants His people to repent and to return to Him. For my counsels are not as your counsels, nor are my ways as your ways, say Yahweh. We don't know what Yahweh have in store for us. That's why we must learn to listen to Him. But as the heaven is distant from the earth, so is my way distant from yours, your ways, and your thoughts from my mind. That's why we need to learn to listen to Yahuwah, so that we can walk in His footsteps, or where He tells us to walk. For His ways are better than our ways. And especially for the second Exodus, who would think that they need to go to a place like South Africa? If they can listen to Yahuwah, Yahuwah through His Spirit will lead them in to go there. Even though they might think it's crazy to do that. For as rain shall come down, or snow from heaven, and shall not return until I have saturated the earth, and it brings forth and bud, and gives seed to the sower and bread for food, so shall my word be. Whatever shall proceed out of my mouth, it shall by no means turn back, until all the things which I will shall have been accomplished. And I will make thy ways prosperous, and will effect my commands. Yahuwah says that what He says He will do. it will come to pass, and we must be able to wait on Him, um, um, be able to not be in a hurry, be able to wait. We must learn that sometimes we have to wait before something will happen, before our prayers be answered. We are living a time when people want everything to happen as quick as possible, but with Yahuwah it's different. We need to learn to wait on Him and to wait for Him. So shall my word be. Okay, where were we? For you shall go forth with joy and shall be taught with gladness, for the mountains and the hills shall exult to welcome you with joy. Which hills and mountains? It is talking about the territory of Israel in Africa. And all the trees of the field shall applaud with their branches, and instead of the bramble shall come up the cypress. That means that the land will be blessed again. And instead of the nettle shall come up the myrtle, and Yahweh shall be for a name, and for an everlasting sign, and shall not fail. Yes, when Yahweh sets out to do something, it will happen. He doesn't fail. Isaiah 57. But those who cling to me shall possess the earth and inherit my holy mountain. This verse, I believe, refers to Israel moving back into Yahweh's territory, where his holy mountain is, Zion. Zion means parched land, as far as I know, and Sion means lofty. Well, okay. This is not about the second Exodus, but what is true fasting, what to do to have the land restored. Isaiah 58, I have not chosen such a fast, say Yahweh, but do thou loose every burden of iniquity. Do thou untie the knot of hard bargains, set the bruised free, and cancel every unjust account. Break thy bread to the hungry, and lead the unsheltered poor to thy house. Thou seest one naked, clothe him, and thou shalt not disregard the relations of thine own seed. It says here, and I think about what happens when times get tough. Sadly, Israelites forget about Israelites, and I've seen that before, that they would rather help people of other nations first than their own people, which is sad. Then shall thy light break forth as the morning, and thy health shall speedily spring forth, and thy righteousness shall go before thee, and the glory of Yahweh shall compass thee. We see here righteousness, I said, is obeying the commands. And these things he mentioned here in verse 6 and 7. It shows here that these things are part of Yahuwah's instructions, his commands, to help those who are poor and needy, to help your own countrymen, the unsheltered, to not be unjust, to not put burdens on others. And yes, this is what it means to keep the commandments, but of course the commandments also say don't eat unclean animals, call Yahweh on his name, rest on the Sabbath day, keep Yahweh's feast, not the world's feast like Christmas and Easter. It's also things that you must do. Then shall you cry, and Yahweh shall hear, hearken to you. While thou art yet speaking, he will say, behold, I am here. You see here, if you do these things, you follow in Yahweh's commands, then he will hear your prayer. I think it's Proverbs 28 verse 9 that says, he who doesn't keep his commands, even his prayers is an abomination. Yahweh, don't listen to the prayers of the ungodly, of those who does not keep his commands. For how can those people expect Yahweh to listen to them if they are not willing to listen to him? Then shall you cry out, and Yahweh shall hearken to you. While you are yet speaking, he will say, Behold, I am here. If you remove from you the band, and the stretching forth of the hands, and murmuring speech, and if you give bread to the hungry from the heart, and satisfy the afflicted soul, then shall the light spring up in darkness, and your darkness shall be as noonday. You see, you must give with the right attitude. You must give from your heart, not out of a necessity, not because you feel guilty. You must give because you care, because you love. The thing is, if you give with the wrong attitude, you won't get a prize from Yahuwah one day. You won't get, you won't be blessed if you give for the wrong reasons. And thy Elohim shall be with thee continually, and thou shalt be satisfied according to as thy soul desires. And thy bones shall be made fat, and shall be as a well-watered garden, and as a fountain from which the water has not failed. And thy old waste desert places shall be built up, and thy foundations shall last through all generations, and thou shalt be called a repairer of breaches. And thou shalt cause thy paths between to be in peace. Yahweh will restore the land, Israel. He will restore it again, and let them move into that area. If they do these things, if they are a blessing to the poor and the needy and the helpless and their own countrymen who needs help, then Yahweh will be there for them. If they are not unjust, if they keep his commands, if they do these things with a heart of love, then Yahweh will restore the land and allow them to enter his Israel territory. If thou turn away from thy foot from the Sabbath, so that not to do thy pleasure on the holy days, and shall call the Sabbath delightful, holy to Elohim, if you shall not lift up your foot to work, nor speak a word in anger out of your mouth, then shall thou trust on Yahweh. Then shall you trust on Yahweh, and he shall bring you up to the good places of the land, and feed you with the heritage of Jacob, thy father. For the mouth of Yahuwah has spoken this. Again, this refers to the second Exodus. If you keep his Sabbaths, if you keep his commands and love your neighbor, love your fellow Israelites and help them, help the needy, if you live justly, then Yahuwah will allow you to enter these good places of his land again, his territory. The heritage of Jacob. What was the heritage of Jacob? It was Canaan. That is what Jacob received. Jacob is Israel. That's what they received. That was what Yahweh promised to Abraham. And verse 13 talks about you not move your foot away from the Sabbath. This is what it refers to. Not you should move away from the Sabbath, but that thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath. Other translations says this much better. This is the Greek translation. So as not to do thy pleasure on thy holy days. It says here that you must remember the Sabbath, to do not your own things on his separate Sabbaths, on the Saturdays, and you shall call the Sabbaths delightful. This also includes the festival Sabbaths of the Bible. You shall call it delightful, is a day of rest. You shall not lift up your foot to do work on that day, nor speak a word in anger out of your mouth. You shall rest that day, spend time with Yahweh that day. Yes, don't watch your sports on that day. Don't go do sports on that day. If you can, are in that position, don't go work on that day. And yes, so that Yahweh can be a blessing for you. So here we're back at the second Exodus chapters. Isaiah 60. I think I'm going to do a part 5 maybe, because there's 60, 61, 62, 64, 66, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Still 5 chapters left. Sure. So I think I'm going to end this one here. Yes, and I'll do part 5 of Isaiah. Enjoy your day. Bye.